On today's show,
they obviously enjoyed that experience, but this group doesn't enjoy losing. And so even though you get second place, you go play in the championship game and you're right there. It's something that's driven these kids all year long, and it's shown every game that we play, and it showed in the off season. We played a lot of basketball, and they were here every day, and they're here working. And
basketball, and more basketball. It all officially starts today, the March Madness of high school basketball in the state of Kansas. It gets underway today. Hopefully you're enjoying this Tuesday as we have another show of Kansas Sports Chatter ready to go for you, highlighted by some basketball, of course, this time of the year, but also state wrestling took place the previous weekend. We got some good recaps with a one state championship coach and also a breakdown of all of girls wrestling and some of the results in some of the upper classes with Dylan Hitchcock with Sudden Victory Podcast. So a lot of good stuff on the show today. As you look at the guests, it'll be Britta Mongeau and also Brenna Rucker and Lydia Mason of Eureka High School, the girls basketball team. They're in the state tournament. They have our leadoff question. Rickie Peterson with KSHSAA Covered will highlight 4 or 5 matchups throughout the states for state basketball. Really good stuff with KSHSAAcover.com. Justin Smith, Rock Creek, what a thriller in the sub-state championship game to get to the state tournament for Rock Creek. Head coach Justin Smith is on the show. Mentioned Dylan Hitchcock with Sudden Victory Podcast, all things girls wrestling from the state tournament the previous weekend. Luke Keller, Russell Lady Broncos, won a state championship in 3-2-1A wrestling. He's on the show. And Lane Gillespie, McPherson Radio, recently announced the Oscar Stauffer Award winner for broadcasting. Really good broadcaster, Adam McPherson. He will join us at the end of the show. Let's have our leadoff question with 3 ladies from Eureka High School. It's today's leadoff question with Britta Mongeau, a member of the Eureka girls basketball team. Britta, the question today, what's your favorite place to play at besides your home court?
I always love a gym that's super loud. It feels like your crowd is like right on top of you. And sometimes those games can be stressful because like it's loud and you can't always hear, but some of the gyms like that, Hillsboro High School, awesome. Same thing kind of with like Neota Shea. Everybody's kind of right on top of you. Obviously, our home court, but
sure.
Away from home, those two are always great environments to play in. So
you talk about like Hillsboro and Neota Shea, like what were the crowds like? I mean, was it packed there too?
Yeah, so at Hillsboro, that was one of my freshman year games, and we were in the championship, and it was crazy. It was just loud. Everybody was loud and cheering. And Neota Shea, it was their this year. It was their homecoming, and so the crowds were just extremely loud, and it was like the floor was vibrating. Everybody
nice.
was so excited from both teams. Our crowd really showed up, and so it was super loud, and it was really fun. So
what's the mentality like for you when you go on the road and you're going into those places? Like, how do you get your mindset right before the game?
Yeah, so it's just staying focused, and it's also nice because we get a second to be with our team like before on the bus. We don't have our phones, just no distractions, being with each other, and also just resting for the game and visualizing what's going to go on throughout the game. And, just then when we're in the locker room, we're getting hyped up. We're having fun with each other and just talking. And it's always fun. Coach White always gives us a great little pregame speech, and that just puts us right in the right mindset and focused and ready to go. And all day at school, we're kind of doing the same thing, just, trying to just stay locked in and stay focused for the game. So
I'm sure you like playing on your home court, but do you enjoy going on the road then?
Sometimes yes. Obviously home games are really fun, but going on the road it's sometimes stressful because it's what they're used to, but it's also different. And so it's kind of a good mix up. All summer we play on random courts we've never been on before. So we're kind of ready for it by the time we get there. And so it's nice, but
That's Britta Mongeau with the Eureka girls basketball team. Our leadoff question brings in Brenna Rucker, a member of the Eureka girls basketball team. Brenna, the question, where's your favorite place to play besides your home court?
I would also say one of our Neota Shea, Olpe. That was a huge game. They kind of had a small gym, so like Britta said, like everyone was just like on the floor. It was just a great crowd. It was a neck and neck game, so that was pretty fun. So I just like playing environments that are really loud, and yeah.
Do you enjoy those, like you said, kind of more the cozy gyms, the smaller gyms, or do you like playing in the bigger ones?
Honestly, I like playing in the smaller gyms. I think it's like you feel like for us, since we're a 2A school, like we're so much smaller. So then when we're in those tight gyms, it's like it looks like so many people and it's so loud. Plus like the band and the student section, it's just like an awesome environment to be in.
Did you have good moments as far as your team was concerned in those games, or whether it's at Olpe or Neota Shea?
Yeah, we had some like huge players like step up and hit some threes, and just like we all just like went crazy. So just like things like that, team stuff.
How do you get yourself ready for especially road trips and road games and going on the road in kind of some of those more, I guess, hostile environments, if you will?
Definitely visualizing all day and just like preparing myself, and know that like we've been in these moments before since freshman year. So, and we've been in close games, and just like on the bus, we don't have our phones either. So it's just, we just sit back and we just get to think and visualize and be with our teammates and just talk about like, hey, this is the game plan, and just like things like that.
That's Brenna Rucker with Eureka girls basketball. It's our leadoff question with Lydia Mason, member of the Eureka girls basketball team. Lydia, the question is, where's your favorite place to play besides your home court?
Okay, so while I love playing at our home court, because of our community and student section, I really enjoy playing at those big high-stake games, like with our amazing crowd coming to support us. Like, so sub-state last year, we took a pet bus, so we had our student section coming, and it was just loud, and it was just a really hype environment. It was definitely a high-stakes game, but I feel like that's what brought out the best in our team.
Any specific gyms or opponents that you like to play on the road?
I do like playing. Neota Shea was definitely a place that I felt like had that environment. It was definitely like high stakes, loud. I really enjoyed the student section coming and just really hyping us up.
Any highlights that stand out from that game on the road at Neota Shea?
We definitely had, some players like stepping up. We had like Eliana Coulter, she stepped up on offense. We had a bunch of players step up. I feel like we definitely play a good defensive game, and we all definitely like stepped up on defense and really did that well.
Like when your student section shows up to those road games, like do you play to that crowd a little bit? Like when you guys do have a highlight?
Like, what do you mean by that?
So like, are you interacting with those fans like throughout the game?
I mean, I try not to look at the crowd to distract me, but I mean, yeah, me personally, no, but definitely it's fun whenever like it gets hype and the student section like cheers us on and gets in with like the cheers with the cheerleaders and things like that.
That's Lydia Mason, a member of the Eureka girls basketball team. Eureka back at it once again with Shelly Hoyt and the girls in the state tournament. Thanks to them coming on the show for our leadoff question. It is Kansas Sports Chatter, a statewide high school sports entertainment show streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. This show possible, and thanks to a few of our sponsors right here. Eastis Media, Cody's going to be having a good time as Pratt Greenbacks in the state tournaments. He can get businesses and individuals turning their ideas into reality. Visit Salina, big city lights, small town love. Choose Salina for your next sport events or tournaments. And Meyers Enterprises, knowing everything about digital advertising, marketing, you have to contact Meyers Enterprises, getting your business into the 21st century. We'll take a break. When we come back, more preview of the state basketball tournament with KSHSAA coverage staff writer Rickie Peterson.
Before the big game even starts, you have to find the perfect place to compete, work as a team, find success, and have fun. Finding the right place to meet all your needs can be challenging. That's why Salina strives to provide a winning experience. Our community in the heart of Kansas has fantastic facilities to play, eat, be entertained, and compete for the trophy. Bringing teams and families together has never been easier when you visit Salina.
Power outages don't wait for a convenient time, and neither should you. Right now is the perfect season to invest in a standby generator from Wheatland Electric Cooperative. With low monthly payments and special financing for co-op members, reliable backup power is more affordable than you think. We'll help you survey, install, and finance a Generac standby generator, all with professional installation you can trust. Protect your home, your comfort, and your peace of mind before the next storm hits. Get a free quote today and make life without power a thing of the past. Visit us online or call us to get started today.
That time of the day, it's story time with KSHSAA Covered, one of the staff writers, Rickie Peterson, joining us here. You can check out all their work at KSHSAA.org and also KSHSAAcovered.com for all the latest stories that they do, and then obviously the great coverage for state basketball, which is going to be the highlight of the show. Rickie, thanks for coming on the show. But I mean, for you, you talk about all the excitement of state basketball and all over the states, and you got a number of teams to cover in your area as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see this new format. I think it's good for the fans, especially if you live in the Salina or Wichita area. You can get basketball pretty much around the clock on some of those days. So we'll see. I think, it's exciting for media members in particular to just to get some different classes. And I think it'll produce a pretty good atmosphere.
It's almost a regional matchup in 1A Division I on the boys' side. South Central and Kiowa County meeting up in the first round.
Yeah, that one is meant for Dodge City. That I know that it would have been there anyways, but that Dodge City is just the perfect place for that one. And that's a heck of a spa league, a rematch right there. South Central was runner-up last year. On their way to that runner-up showing in sub-state, they had to squeak by Kiowa County by a point to even get there. And this year, Kiowa County goes through a really tough sub-state, beating South Gray when we know about the history with that program, and beating Meade with a really good defensive effort against a really talented Meade team. And they get their first state tournament berth in school history. And so now they'll get a chance to go up against the Timberwolves again. South Central has got the 2 wins against them on the season, but I really expect that to be just a heck of a matchup. And we're going to have a good crowd at Dodge City for that one, with the proximity to United Wireless Arena for those schools. So I just think South Central, so tough defensively. That's been their calling card all year long. One of the best defensive teams they've ever had. And I think if the score is in the 40s, maybe that favors South Central a little bit. If you can get up into the 50s, maybe that favors Kiowa County, although South Central did win 54-50 earlier this year. But a lot of really big names that we know around the Western Kansas area: Sawyer Campbell for Kiowa County, Jack Hurd for South Central. I just think that's a really good matchup, and that's, like I said, that's the perfect place to play it in Dodge City.
A couple other Southwest teams, Dighton, Buckland girls in 1A Division II.
That's another one that's really going to be an interesting one. Buckland's a team that I remember seeing them through when their senior class was freshmen a few years ago, and you just thought, man, this team in a few years is going to have some chance to really do some damage. And they've been a perennial state contender the last couple of years. This year, it seems like that senior class may be able to take them to the next level and get them to the finals and maybe a championship game, but they're going to have to go through a Dighton team that's having a really good breakthrough year. Last year, you kind of felt like Dighton was just getting close. They were 12-10 last year, but they had several games that were, by 7 points or less, and they had several games. Most of their losses came against ranked opponents, and this year they really put it together with Lonnie Spear, who's a talented 3-sport athlete, and they just have a lot of a balanced attack to go with her. And Buckland with Emerson Kirk and Carly Evans and a couple other key players. Man, I just think that has a chance to be a really good first round matchup, and the winner of that will have a really good chance to make it to the finals and maybe even win state.
Well, I think we talked about, in the fall, just kind of the special season that Ellenwood was having and capped off with the volleyball state championship. I know some different girls, but transitioning to the basketball season, we're able to push by TMP in their sub-state championship game, but now they got a good matchup in 2A girls against Rossville.
Yeah, I was at that game against TMP, and first off, you got to get credit for TMP for even hanging around. They went, I want to say, the first 11 minutes of that game without scoring a point.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden they come back and we got within one at one point, and they ended up losing by 2. But credit Ellenwood, they did what they had to end a long state tournament drought of 2006. It was the last time they've made it. So I know they were really excited, and they had to deal with some pressure in that sub-state final, and maybe that was good for them. Maybe that'll help them kind of maybe loosen up. We know they have a championship pedigree, like you said,
yeah,
for what they've done on the volleyball court. Talking about this year's team, Julia Schlesinger is a really tough matchup for anybody to deal with. 6'2" center, averaging 14 a game. And then after that, it's just really good athletes around her. We know the names: Olivia Batchman, Meta Maxwell, Bryn Widener. That it's just a group that's full of really good athletes. And it's kind of interesting. Their first round matchup is against a team that's also hasn't been to state since 2006 and Rossville. So that's kind of an intriguing matchup. That'll be early, 2 p.m. on in Salina, Tony's Pizza Event Center, and I think that has the makings to be a really good game. Riley Dick for Rossville is having a heck of a senior year, averaging 21 points a game. So that could really be a fun first round matchup, even though it's a number 1 seed Ellenwood versus number 8 seed Rossville.
Going up to Class 5A girls, Hayes, they've been dominant all season outside that loss to Silver Lake back, before the Christmas break. They've been on quite the run, and we've had Lynn Melvin on the show, and it just seems like a special team, and they got that good matchup with Cape and Mount Carmel.
Yeah, good matchup. Last year I think they had probably the worst draw in the state, having to face Aquinas that first round. This year, it's a better matchup, but it's still a tough matchup against Capen in that first round. But I think Hayes will welcome that. Shoot, they've been 23-1 this year, and really checked every box along the way, except for that loss against Silver Lake, who's a heck of a even though they're a 3A, they're a heck of a team. So Hayes. If you haven't seen Jenna Schmeidler play, sophomore, who I still feel like even though she's such a great player, she's flying under the radar a little bit as far as maybe the recruiting hasn't blown up, to my knowledge, yet as much as it might in the next couple of years. But she is so fun to watch. She's such a great ball handler and such a great shooter, and she's just having a heck of a sophomore year with 20 points per game. And Zoe Winter has had a really big breakthrough year for Hayes High in the post with 14 points per game and 6.5 rebounds a game. So I think this will be a good test for Hayes against a Capen team that's having another great year. Hayes, they would love to get 3 games at the state tournament. But if they do beat Cape, and I think they have a really good shot at making the finals and maybe even getting that first state title in program history.
Last game, I want to get your take on going in Class 3A boys. Holcomb, both their programs, both the girls and boys, have been a lot of fun to watch, and I'm really kind of excited to see how they fare at the state tournament this year.
Yeah, they've kind of mirrored each other a little bit throughout the seasons. I think they've both had similarly great years, the girls and the boys. Boys, I know there's a lot of talk. It was a rough draw. I think Holcomb boys would have loved to play at Dodge, but playing Silver Lake, it was just too far of a distance. You have to be within that 250 miles. So that was too far to Dodge. So they're going to meet in Salina. Obviously, a little bit shorter trip for Silver Lake than Holcomb, but I think that's going to be a really, really good game. That is one of the highlights, I think, in that Tuesday slate. Silver Lake and Holcomb. And, talking about Holcomb, this year, really strong, balanced attack. Obviously, Brody Denniston is the guy that kind of engineers everything for them. Really good athlete. We know about how great of a distance runner he is as well. Aiden Brown, Corbin Johnson. They've just got a really solid nucleus. And Silver Lake, they were made the state semifinals last year. Dane Johnson, man, we'll talk about a great senior year, going 24.6 points a game. He beat a guy named, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lon Kruger, but he beat his most points in school history. So anytime you do that, you're a really, really good, outstanding player. So they'll have to figure out a way to slow him down. But I think that could be a really entertaining first-round matchup.
Lon Kruger, not a bad name to throw around here in the States. Hey, Rickie, appreciate it, and enjoy your March Madness.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, Cole. Thank you.
As Rickie Peterson joining us here, one of the staff writers for KSHSAA Cover. Check out the work at KSHSAAcover.com. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Continuing on here on Kansas Sports Chatter as we bring in our next guest, and that's going to be Justin Smith. He's the head coach of the Rock Creek boys basketball team. Coach, thanks for joining us. Just how much fun has this year been? I mean, you look at the record, look at some of the results, but just how much fun are you having this season with this team?
Yeah, it's been great. If you've been around our kids at all here over the last few months and really over a lot of their careers, I mean, they're just a lot of fun to be around. They care about each other. They love playing basketball and they love being around each other, which is different than some other places that I've been and different teams that I've coached. It's just they really enjoy every day, and it's kind of weird to be honest. But it's been great for our team chemistry, and there's a lot of unselfishness, and it makes it to where that it shows out on the floor.
Well, I mean, the results speak for themselves. It looks like you've handled it well. But, I mean, when you start getting those wins and you start stacking up a little bit, get that number one ranking and, kind of dealing with that pressure and that bullseye, like how have they kind of reacted to that throughout the season?
The funny thing about them is they haven't acted like it bothered them at all. Like even games that we've gone in and, we may have played somebody in our league the first time and won by quite a bit. And then we come back the second time and they don't really seem to care. They've had some games here, the bigger type games that they really lock in and focus and be ready to go. But game by game, none of that pressure seems to bother them. They're just out there having fun and playing basketball.
What is the intensity like, though, this time of the year for you as a coaching staff or even as a player?
Yeah, I love it. We get to this time of year and, last year we made that run that we did and just the games keep on meaning more and more intensity and more physicality, and playing in those bigger type games will hopefully help us in the next week. And so it's a lot of fun. And those are the games that our kids really get up for and get excited to play.
You talk about that experience of getting to the state tournaments and getting really close last year, becoming runner-up. Like, how much did that fuel you during the offseason?
Yeah, it's been something that our kids talk about every day. They obviously enjoyed that experience, but this group doesn't enjoy losing. And so even though you get second place, you go play in the championship game and you're right there. It's something that's driven these kids all year long, and it's shown every game that we play, and it showed in the off season. We played a lot of basketball, and they were here every day, and they're here working, and just at practice, it's the same way. They're out here and they're ready to go, and we're really looking forward here to the stretch run.
With so much experience, but what did you fine tune this year that this maybe this team even a little bit more special? Is it just more experience, or did you make any changes for this year's team?
Yeah, we run just a little bit different stuff offensively, and then our depth is probably better than it was a year ago as well. We're playing anywhere from 8, 9, 10 guys on a night, and we don't drop off a lot. The other thing is there's kids that have stepped up and gotten better and got better physically and really kind of stepped in a role. The thing that we talk about all the time is being a star in your role, and our kids have really bought into that, and it makes it to where as a team we really flow, and we have guys that we really look forward to shoot the ball, and we have guys that look to cut, and it's been really good on the aspect of guys that are just completely unselfish, and no one ever asked me how many points they have. No one ever asked me how many rebounds. They just want to go win, and it makes my life as coach real easy.
Well, the stats speak for themselves. You talk about unselfish, and I know you guys set the state record earlier this year back in January for most assists in a single game with 34 assists. Did you have any idea during that game that you're close to that mark?
No idea. It really came up on, we happened to score 100 against the first time we played Wamego. Something I don't love to do. Everybody likes that, but I don't really care that much about it. But people had asked on that question on that because we had 18 threes in that game and the ball was just going in the basket. And so someone had asked me and I was like, well, we had a lot. And so I looked and we had 31 in that game. And then I was like, I wonder what other games that we've had a lot of assists. And that one popped up. I was like, that's a lot. And so I went to the records and crap, we beat it by 2. So, and it was a record that was from 1960 and been, however many years that is. And we've had multiple games that we've been in the mid-20s. And so it's just something that popped up because someone asked. I was curious and I guess we got it. So
has this team always been that way, that style, that unselfish style? You talk about always, passing up a good shot for a great shot. Have they always had that mentality?
This group has, in the past couple of years, they obviously were not in as big as roles as what they are now. We had a couple of juniors that started for us last year, and then the 2 sophomores that are now juniors came off the bench, but they're more role players. And so the ball wasn't in their hand as much. But now the ball's in their hand all the time and they're trying to get downhill. They're trying to find shooters. And it helps that we have multiple guys that are anywhere from 36 to 50% from 3. And so when you're kicking out to a shooter and you got a good chance of going down, you're gonna get assists. Yeah. So it works out on that aspect of it too. But yeah, they're just really unselfish group.
You mentioned guys in new roles. Who are some of the guys that have stepped up that maybe weren't as expected to, but maybe have kind of caught your eye a little bit?
Yeah, one that didn't play a lot last year was Ethan Tonser, and he starts for us this year. And that's one that talked about grew physically. He probably gained 20 or 30 pounds of just muscle, and makes it to where he's way better rebounder, guards better. I think he had 23 last night, which was by far his career high. And so he's gotten better in that aspect of it. And then Logan Klingenberg came off the bench last year as a sophomore. Porter Gill came off the bench as a sophomore. Both those kids are averaging around 12 to 14 points a game. And so they've stepped into bigger roles. Hudson Edelman didn't get play last year as a sophomore. He's one of the first guys off the bench last year, including with a couple other guys. Zeb Brinson is another one, and Jackson Pendle. And then the guys that started last year have really stepped up and got better. And one's Gavin Rosa, shooting about 50% from 3 on high volume. And then Peter Martini is one of the best players that may not score 15 points a game, but one of the best defenders I've ever coached. And I've coached at some higher levels, and he's just super athletic, very quick, great hands. But the good thing about it is you always want just kids to get better. And I feel like all our kids have from year to year.
Talking with Justin Smith, head coach of the Rock Creek basketball team. You mentioned you've had stops in Missouri and Oregon. How excited were you to be able to come back to Kansas 4 years ago?
Yeah, it was amazing. Our family's from here. And so my wife is actually an orthopedic surgeon at Manhattan and works for KSHSAA Sports. So she loves sports as well. So for her to be able to come back and do that and be a part of a college program has been amazing for our family. We have a sophomore son and then an 8-year-old and then actually a 3-month-old baby girl. So it's been great for our family to be back here. And this community has been amazing. I couldn't ask to be at a better place that really cares about us and loves us, and it's been great.
You coaching just seems like it's been in your blood a little bit. I know with your dad and his past coaching experience, and I know you and your brothers. How much fun has that just been as a coaching family, if you will?
Oh, it's amazing. Be able, Dad's in the stands a lot because my son plays, so he's here, and The worst 2 days of the season are when I play Clay Center and play my brother. But other than that, it's great to have him in the league because you're able to talk about other teams and you're able to talk about different things that you see about your team and I see about his team and try to help him as much as I can without trying to make it to where they can beat us. And so, but to have dad too, he did it for a lot of years. And I have an uncle too that coaches the Donovan West girls, and we're this is always what we've known, and this is always what we've done, and to be this close and have family be a part of it has been a ton to us, and it's just a good resource for me too as well.
Any good sideline conversations near midcourt when you're playing Clay Center between you and your brother?
There's some trash talk before, but it's a lot of like coach speak. So we talk about like betting lines and stuff like that. And a lot of times I make sure we're like plus 10.5 and stuff like that. But, and then our friends get in on it. And so there's a lot of that going on, but we try not to talk a lot about our game because neither one of us like it, but it's obviously a necessary evil. But there's some of that goes on for sure.
Hey coach, appreciate it. And best of luck the rest of the year.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
That is Justin Smith, head coach of the Rock Creek basketball team. We'll have more of the show right after this. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. We continue to recap the state wrestling tournaments that took place back at the end of February as we continue on, as we have our wrestling insider, Dylan Hitchcock, especially on the girls side of things with the Sudden Victory podcast that covers all things girls wrestling in the state of Kansas. Dylan, appreciate you coming back on the show. How was the wrestling weekend for you? I mean, I know there's a lot of excitement, a lot of intense matches. We'll say what stood out for you, but what was the experience like for you?
Well, it was a great weekend of wrestling. I was at the 6A over in Overland Park for the boys and girls, with Kansas being split up into, the 4 different classes, and my background being in Olathe North. I was at that state tournament, but I definitely had my eye on the other 3 locations, and it was a great weekend of wrestling, really capping an amazing season. And it's just awesome to see the growth of girls wrestling, both as far as numbers, but just how competitive it is. And one of the common themes that I saw is we have a youth movement. There is a ton of talent. I think we had more freshman state champions this year than we've ever had. And if you count the number of finalists and placers, it is just absolutely skyrocketing. So we're in a good place. It's just going to continue to get better and better.
All right, well, let's start out the top where you were at in Class 6A, work our way down. Give me some of the highlights of 6A. What stood out to you?
Well, the thing in 6A that I was most looking forward to heading in was the team race between Garden City and Gardner Edgerton. Heading into the finals, or heading into that final weekend, on paper, they were pretty much dead even in those final rankings. Garden City had a few injuries at the end of the season, which really kind of tightened up that race. It was super close. I think it was within 3.5 points after day one. Garden City did end up edging it out with 226.5 points. Gardner Edgerton took second with 197, and then Washburn Rural was third with 175 points. Garden City had 10 state placers out of their 11 that they took to state, which is absolutely crazy and impressive. They had the most state placers of any team at any of the classes. Gardner Edgerton also had 10 out of the 13 wrestlers that they took. The other team that really stood out to me and I thought had a great weekend was Junction City. I had not seen them this year, and they just wrestled their tails off, led by their champion at 115, Bree Villanueva. But just some of the things that kind of stood out to me at this particular weight class, or this particular class. The two classes that I thought were just the most intriguing and fun was 105, super, super deep. Ended up being won by Ramirez of Dodge City. She beat Meyers of Garden City in the finals. But then you have a freshman phenom, Tangprecha of Washburn Rural, along with Borge, another freshman from Manhattan. They've been back and forth all year. Tangprecha got third at the tournament. Borge got fourth. Arantia of Liberal took fifth. And then there was a DQ, so we did not have a sixth place finisher there. And then 120 was really, really loaded at the top. We ended up having a freshman win there. Beard from Derby had a fantastic tournament, really impressive. She beat another impressive freshman in Aspen Walker from Gardner Edgerton. They actually finished 1-2 ahead of the two finalists from last year, who was Reese Anderson of Wichita North and Rodriguez of Garden City, who finished third and fourth. Some other notes I have here. The finals 110 pounds was absolutely awesome. We had freshman phenom B. Jackson or Brylan Jackson of Gardner Edgerton versus Stella Segura of Shawnee Mission South. So we had freshman versus senior. There was like 40 points scored in this match. It was really, really awesome. Segura got out to an early lead, and then Jackson came back and ended up getting the win. Really, really fun match. Another one, we had a battle of state champs at 115 between Villanueva and Laura of Garden City, with Villanueva getting the title there, her third title. And she announced that she's actually committed to Fort Hays State when she won that, which was kind of cool. Slifer of Manhattan won her second. Leonard at 145 won her second. Was not easy. She had to come back from like a 10-3, 11-3 deficit to win that. And then Lulu Kirk at 235 won her second state title over Molly Marty of Olathe North, who I actually coach. It was their sixth time wrestling this year. Lulu went in fourth. It was also a rematch of the finals last year. So 6A was fun. Tons of great matches. A lot of great freshmen in it. We have some great teams. Garden City is kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to teams throughout the state, and they really showed it with their 2 state champs and 10 state placers.
Class 5A, anything that popped off the page for you?
Well, Baser Linwood, I think they went in as the favorites, but they had a fantastic tournament in their own right with 9 state placers, including a second, third, fourth, a sixth, a first, 2 seconds, and a first. They were led by champions Michaela Faulkner and Izzy Renfro. Faulkner wrestles 145, Renfro 190. They were both last year state runner-ups, so they were able to, in their senior year, get state titles. So I was really happy for them. In second place was Cape and Mount Carmel of Wichita. They had 2 firsts, a second, or 2 seconds, a fifth, and a third, and then the third was Shawnee Heights, who had a great tournament with 3 champions. In this class, I thought 105, again, like in 6A, 105 is one of the deepest really weight classes throughout the state. Estrada from Cape and Mount Carmel had wrestled actually at 100 pounds most of the year and had come up to 105 towards the end of the year. So she wasn't really ranked super high. I would say Treaster of Newton was probably the favorite going into that weight, but Estrada was able to pull off the championship there, beating Treaster of Newton in the finals. And then we had Lainey Galvin of Baser Linwood getting third, Dolinar, a freshman from Piper, getting fourth, and then Sisper from St. Thomas Aquinas and Levia from Great Bend. 115 was also a really fun weight class with Gardner of Leavenworth, Shires of Pittsburgh, and Hinojosa of Newton. Those 3 had kind of gone back and forth this year. Gardner ended up getting the championship there from Leavenworth. 170 pounds. Jada Hawkins of Washington, I think a real unknown heading into this season. She ended up getting the state title at 170 pounds. I don't think a lot of people know that name. I did get a chance to see her earlier in the year at Shawnee Mission South, and I was like, who is this girl? Super, super impressive. Great athlete. As far as I know, that's Casey Washington's first state title or individual title, so that was pretty cool. So definitely a fun tournament at 5A. Congratulations to Baser. They had a great year and really capped their year off in great style.
Moving on to Class 4A.
4A. I honestly believe that this was probably the most fun, and maybe the most talented of the classes as far as individual wrestlers. A lot of great storylines here, tons of great wrestlers. Wellsville, who I probably would not have predicted, ended up winning the state title without any finalist, which is always kind of cool. They did it with depth. They had 5 state placers in a fourth, a third, a fourth, and a fifth, and then they had several other wrestlers winning matches, getting points for their team. They were followed by Colby, only 2.5 points behind. Colby also had 5 state placers, including 1 state champion. And then Abilene was third with 94 points. So it was only 7.5 points separating first and third. So a really good team race there. Abilene was led by the Wilson twins, Josie and Jade, who wrestle 100 and 105 pounds. Both undefeated this year, both state champions. Both now are sophomores and 2-time state champions, and are set up to, as far as I know, become the first sisters in Kansas to have the chance of being a four-time state champions. They are 2 of the best wrestlers in Kansas, and really, really fun to watch. Harper Holmes at 110 pounds won her third. She won as a freshman at Frontenac. And then she transferred to Pittsburgh. So she won there last year in the 5A, and then back at Frontenac this year, winning her third state title. It was not easy for her. She had some up and downs this year, but she really came into form at the end of the year and had a great state tournament, winning her third. 115. Maybe not the most talented, but definitely the deepest and one of the I think the more fun weight classes there. Alexis Wall was the favorite heading into the season, or heading into the tournament at 115 pounds. She ended up getting third. Kaylee Pankey from Tonganoxie had a fantastic tournament, beating Wall, I believe, in the semifinals to take first place. Really, really fun weight class, really deep. So that was kind of fun. Alyssa Kalovich of Chapman. She got her state title. She's battled some health issues over the past few years, had a fantastic freshman year. State tournament did not go her way, and then she's been battling health issues ever since. She looks to be back in form. I was really happy with her. She had a fantastic season, winning the title at 125 pounds.
That is Dylan Hitchcock with the Sudden Victory podcast, covering girls wrestling and the state championships. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on the show. It is time to bring in one of those state champions from just recently here, as we have Luke Keller, the head coach of the Russell High wrestling team, and the girls able to get that state championship. Man, like for you, I mean, you're a state champ. Like how exciting was that for you, just you and the girls and just that program in general being known as state champs now?
Man, it was really exciting. I took over as head coach 4 years ago, and we only had 4 girls out. But I knew the talent we had coming up in our kids club, and I told the girls on that first team, if we could lay a foundation of the standards of our program, they probably wouldn't be around to see some of the rewards we got from their hard work, but they could be a part of it and see our program do something special. So that was just a cool kind of a full circle moment that I really took in after we won state, just to see how far we came as a program and the hard work that really all the kids that have wrestled for us have paid off. And it was just awesome to experience.
So you deliver that message to them. Like, how easy was it for them to buy into that? Like, did you see that right away from those girls?
Yeah. I mean, we had a pretty special wrestler back then named Jaden Nye. She kind of shared that same vision. She knew we probably weren't going to have the numbers her first couple of years to compete for team trophies. But she thought if she could set the standard for how we practice, how we wrestle, really how we just live our lives as a wrestling program, that it would pay off for everybody involved. So that was just a really kind of a big moment for our program. And, we had a lot of other girls. Madison Rayburn was a senior last year. The seniors this year, Cambria Souls, Maya Trevino, they all kind of bought into for that standard that we wanted to set. So it set us up for a lot of success. When we have new girls come into our program, they don't miss a beat with what we want to do, because the older girls, they just instill the values that we hold in them right away.
So the initial reaction, like, what was your initial reaction once you found out you're state champ, and like how soon did you kind of realize it? Were you able to calculate things?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of math during the finals, which is not a strong point of mine, but I was making it through. I knew we needed to get to 149 team points. I think we started with 135 in the finals when it started. So we getting 2 pins with Ariana Waggle and Avery Counts in 2 of our first 3 matches. That was huge. Kind of gave us a little breathing room. And after Avery pinned her girl in the finals, I kind of sat down and waited for the team scores to load. And we were at 147, and Kinsey Zorn was our next finalist. And I felt pretty comfortable having a returning state champion and a girl like Kinsey Zorn be the one to close it out for us. So Kinsey wrestled a really smart finals match. Just didn't get in bad positions, stayed in good, stayed safe, and got an 8-0 victory, a major decision, and that sealed the deal for us. So I know when she ran to us after her match, we were all hugging, and I think the first thing I said to her was, "You just won us the state championship. You just won us the state championship." So I know she didn't realize. I kind of kept that from her, so she didn't feel a lot of pressure when she was wrestling out there. But Kinsey's a special kid to our program, and has done a lot of good things for us, and is going to continue to do a lot of good things.
You talk about that embrace. Like, I got to imagine, like, as a coach, that's like got to be the most rewarding embrace, that you can have after that state championship match. And then, accomplishing that type of goal. Like, what was that like for you? I mean, you were able to celebrate that 4 times.
Yeah. I think something people don't understand is just the amount of work it takes into winning a state wrestling championship. Wrestling practices are not easy. Our girls, we have hard practices, and they don't shy away from wrestling hard. We have a really good wrestling room. And we had 5 state finalists in our wrestling room, and 3 other qualifiers that wrestled really good. So that's a strength of ours. We can wrestle state championship matches every day in practice, and a lot of programs can't do that. So the practices are super hard. People don't realize that. And a lot of our girls, they practice at high school, and then they go get another practice in by themselves. So we have a lot of special young ladies in our program that do things that most people aren't willing to do to get to the level we're at. So those embraces, you just think about all the hard work and the ups and downs, and it's just super rewarding to see our kids accomplish their goals, because I know they work hard, and they are just an amazing group of kids.
I mean, I think a lot of people feel this way about, 3-2-1A state wrestling at Gross Memorial Coliseum in Hayes. That's just, that atmosphere, like, that's tough to beat. Like, for you as a coach, and especially getting able to get to the top of the mountain there, like, what was that environment like? And, Russell fans, like, just close by Hayes. It wasn't a long travel by any means. So, like, what was that scene like for you?
I mean, it was an awesome weekend. We had a great fan base. I think we took up about 2.5 or 2 sections of that place. I saw people there that I didn't even know they knew what wrestling was. So, it was great. I was very proud of our community for coming out and supporting us. And, 3-2-1 wrestling at Hayes is special. I grew up in St. Francis, so that was a kind of a weekend vacation my family always took, was going down there to Hayes and watching the St. Francis Indians wrestle. And I know I got to watch them win 2 state championships as a grade schooler kid in the 90s. So it was kind of a surreal moment that I was living that, what I saw as a kid, and a bunch of my heroes growing up. So it's kind of hard to put into words what the emotions and the feelings I had when I knew we locked up that championship.
Well, what's the reception been like since that state title? You said like you kind of had that reality. You had to go back to school on Monday. But
yeah.
What's the reception been like?
Well, our community really showed out for us. We got back to Russell after we wrapped everything up in Hayes, and they had a flatbed trailer for us. The police and sheriff's department escorted us into town. We parked on the end of Main Street. We loaded up on the trailer. They drove us down Main Street, and we had, I don't know how many people were there, but it was huge, coming down and just celebrating with us and celebrating the girls and all their hard work. So it was very heartwarming and humbling to see our community come out and just share the excitement that we all had. So it made me proud to be a Russell Bronco, that's for sure.
Talk with Luke Keller, head coach of the Russell wrestling program. First state title for the girls, there at Russell. And I think I saw the first one since 1979 overall for that Russell program. Like, do you get a feeling for what, you're able to kind of bring to that community?
Yeah. There's a little buzz in town. You can tell just being around town. Just walking in school, a bunch of my coworkers, they're excited for us. I've been to a couple businesses, and people just want to make sure to stop and congratulate you. But yeah, it was a big deal. I hadn't thought about, we hadn't won a state championship since 1979 until our AD mentioned it at a community pep rally we had on Thursday before we went to Hayes. So I guess that kind of put everything in perspective for me. The things we could do this weekend were pretty special for us, because it's hard to win state championships. Even if you're pretty good, sometimes it takes a little bit of luck and just things going your way. So it's just been great. Our community has really just embraced these girls and kind of gave them the recognition they deserve.
What was the feeling for you and just the team in general going into the state? Obviously a successful regional, but what was the feeling for you and just how you felt going into it?
I felt pretty confident we were going to wrestle good. I don't ever really like to say, we're going to go in and win this tournament or that tournament, because
sure.
There's just a lot of wrestling, and wrestling is one of those sports. You can be up winning by a lot of points and get caught in the wrong position and get pinned and lose. So, you always understand those kind of situations can happen. But, we had 2 weeks off between our regional tournament and the state tournament, and just the way our girls practiced those 2 weeks, they were ready to wrestle. I think that week of state, they were over practicing and just wanted Friday to get there so they could go compete. The girls we have, they're gamers, they're gunslingers. They like to go out there and wrestle and compete and kind of show out a little bit. So I was confident we were going to wrestle really good at the state tournament. And then they all have this, they just get a little anxious the night before tournament. And then As soon as we step in whatever gym or arena we're wrestling on, they flip the switch and they are, focused and ready to wrestle. So it's a fun group to be around and just kind of get to experience that with them. So I had no doubt we were going to wrestle really good.
As a coach, you got to be kind of giddy because you got a lot of youth on that team. So you talk about the excitement of the future as well. You already accomplished a lot, but I imagine you're very excited for the next couple of years.
Yeah, we do have a lot of young talent. So we just got to keep working and sharpening our skills and not be satisfied with what we did this year. And I'm already looking forward to next year and what we can do to improve. And I think the girls are too. So we can be proud of what we accomplished, but know if we want to keep accomplishing things that we want to accomplish, we got to up our level, because we know everybody else is going to be gunning for us and want what we took this year. So,
hey, Coach, appreciate the time. Congratulations again.
Okay, thank you.
That is Luke Keller, the head coach of the Russell Wrestling program, coming off that girls' state title.
Being hydrated is essential for performing at your best. Remember to drink plenty of water before, during, and after practice or games. Fuel your body with hydration, balanced meals, and rest to recover and stay fit. Staying healthy means you maintain your strength and continue performing at your best. Hydrate your way to success.
Welcome back on the show for Kansas Sports Chatter. Our next guest is going to be Lane Gillespie. He is a radio broadcaster based in McPherson. Hey, Lane, appreciate you coming on the show. I know it's a busy time of the year for you, so I appreciate any time I can get from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on, Cole. I've watched the show, and it's a lot of fun. But, yeah, really busy time with the postseason, so bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. Hey, Oscar Stauffer Award. You were the recent recipient of that. Congratulations. What was your initial reaction when you found out?
Thank you. Honestly, it shocked me because I know there's a lot of really good announcers in the state of Kansas, and I've submitted a few times, and other guys had won. So I submitted not really having a ton of confidence that I would win. But when I got the email from the Kansas State High School Activities Association that I had won, it felt humbling, to be honest, especially just thinking about the list of announcers that have won the Oscar Stauffer Award, with Bob Davis, who I idolized growing up, my mentor Brian Haney, Wyatt Thompson, the voice of the Wildcats, and then just the list just goes on and on and on. So it's just it's a very humbling feeling, to be honest.
So when you're putting together that entries, for those that don't know, you submitted an entry. I think for that one, Lane, correct me if I'm wrong, is like what, a 5-minute clip or something like that, 5 or 6 minutes.
It's about 2 to 3 minutes actually.
Okay, so shorter. Okay.
Yeah.
So like when you're putting that together, like what are you looking for? Like as far as like, okay, yep, that sounds really good.
Yeah, so I kind of tried to find somewhat of a big game, but not necessarily like, state or sub-state or anything, just like what's good in the regular season that I think, in my mind, hey, that wasn't just a good game, but that was a good broadcast for me and for my analysts. So I just did a football matchup where I do have an analyst, Nathan Roble, who actually is one of the assistant baseball coaches from McPherson College, but he's a really good football analyst. I mean, he knows a heck of a lot more than I do, but just kind of going through kind of bit by bit and figuring out what's a good place that had some key plays without it being, a clutch situation to where some guys could maybe go a little bit overboard, but instead, hey, there's a nice couple of plays here and there, like maybe second quarter or third quarter, where you can show a little bit of excitement, but not too much excitement, while also being able to handle the fundamentals of play-by-play of like time and score, how is this important, and everything like that. So it took me some time to find a good snippet of that, but I was able to find one for one of the football games, I think for senior night against the rival Bueller. So, and hey, it ended up working out.
Yeah, big time. So for you, this is a broad question, but it's like, what is good broadcasting for you? So you mentioned like the fundamentals, the time and the score, depending on whatever sport you're calling. But like when you're listening to the other guys and gals that are calling games, like what stands out? It's like, okay, yep, that's good.
Well, I think rule number one that pretty much everybody says, if you're a play-by-play announcer, and I know, Cole, you can speak on this too, they need to say what the time and score is, number one, because you need to know the details of the game, because especially if you're listening on the radio, you're not there. You don't know everything that's going on. So basically, people painting a picture, telling it like it's a story, not necessarily just saying what's going on in a game, but also telling it like it's a story. So, like, for example, with me calling basketball the other day, this is big because they could win the league title. This is big because it's senior day, et cetera, et cetera. So a way to turn that kind of into a story, but also be able to let the listener know what's going on by filling in the blanks of what they may or may not know, because they're not.
Yeah. Preparation, like, what's the preparation like for you on typical, we'll just stay like in basketball season.
Mm-hmm.
Take me through your Monday through Sunday, if you will.
Yeah, so let's say for the sake of this, let's make it to where I'm just doing 2 high school basketball doubleheaders in that week. So that's normally Tuesday and Friday. Sometimes I'll kind of get a feel over the weekend of who the opponent is. And then I'll do my preliminary research. I'll get the roster. I'll start putting together my charts, which I put together on Google Sheets, and then reaching out to the athletic director or coaches for both teams, getting all of the stats together and some of the notes, while also just finding out why, like I said, why the game is important, and just turning it into a story, putting down some notes, stats, everything like that. So Monday I'll do mostly preliminary stuff. Tuesday I'll do the final stuff for the Tuesday game. Wednesday will kind of be a data reset. Make sure I update stuff, especially for, let's say, for McPherson. I put in the stats for McPherson in my spreadsheet for Tuesday so that it's all updated by the time I begin prep for the next game. And then I kind of go full steam ahead Thursday and Friday for the Friday night show.
Working, like honing your craft, like how much time do you spend even just trying to find ways to improve your ability to kind of tell those stories, and just, whether it's vocabulary, whether it's just, phrases or anything like that, like how much do you kind of spend on that, or does that just happen natural for you?
I've kind of gotten better at figuring out or trying to spin stuff to make sure that I don't repeat the same thing, like on a made shot saying it's good, or any like rattles at home, something like that. A lot of times it comes naturally, but then as I get in the broadcast, I kind of think to myself, hey, you're using this phrasing word too much. You gotta switch it up. There's some really cool resources out there for sportscasters, especially from the Sportscasters Talent Agency of America, who has resources like that, like an entire sheet of phrasing. I don't have it on me, but I would totally show you if I had it.
Yeah.
But it has a full list of phrasing for everything: dribbles, passes, shots, and then pretty much on the court. So like you say, from the free throw line, puts up a 15-footer, from the elbow, from the left wing, from the free throw line extended. It has a full list. And one thing that I've kind of learned from the voice of the Jayhawks, Brian Haney, who's my mentor, is, which we don't really get this luxury, but he kind of does it himself to where he has a list like that. And then during halftime, they will play some highlights, and he will listen into his calls, and he will look at that list and say, okay, what did I say? And how do I not say that, just so I don't seem repetitive going into the second half? I don't have that luxury, but as the game goes on, I kind of try to keep it in the back of my mind to find more of a vocabulary. And I think some of it, finding a vocabulary, is also listening to others and doing just more repetition, doing as many games as you can. And sometimes the vocabulary just comes to you. Sometimes it's been a bit natural, but other times I kind of think about it ahead of time.
Yeah, sounds good. You mentioned Brian, and I know, you said Bob Davis and Wyatt Thompson and some of those guys that you looked up to. Like, what did you take from them? Like anything that stands out that you were able to take from them and kind of use into your broadcast?
Yeah, I think just finding ways to show some excitement without going overboard, I think, is the big thing. Because when a lot of people think of an announcer, they think a guy who's really excited. So, okay, maybe like a Gus Johnson or anything. You got to shout everything and make sure that it sounds super exciting. But Brian's kind of the one that told me, you got to dial it down a bit. While at the same time, when you talk normally, you got to make sure you project and you give not just like a fake broadcasting voice, because you sound like an idiot when you give a fake voice. But if you project and kind of project your voice, especially not just with your throat, but with your chest, then you sound, not only do you sound excited, but you don't get a little overexcited. You sound a lot more professional. And then just also, Brian helped me a lot with a lot of the play-by-play basics, while at the same time, sportscasters, and you may know this, Cole, from your days, but sometimes sportscasters are their own worst critic. So just understanding, don't necessarily be your own worst critic, because one biggest piece of advice that I got was, you're never as good as you think you are, but you are never as bad as you think you are. So it kind of humbles me, teaches me to, keep pushing, but understand, if you feel like you had a bad game or you feel like you're not doing good with this, just know that there are a lot of other people that don't think so. So just kind of stay locked in and stay focused, pushing forward in this career.
Getting to call games for McPherson High School, and you mentioned your work with the college as well, but sticking with the high school, like how much fun has that been? I mean, you talk about like successful teams, whatever sport you're calling it. I mean, McPherson has been at the top in a number of sports for a number of years. How much fun has it just been a broadcaster there in that area?
Well, Kirk Kinnaman calls me spoiled, first of all, but it kind of helps when the boys team, in the 2 years that I've called them, they win state titles. But
not bad.
Honestly, when I interviewed at Astra Radio to be the sports director and the voice of McPherson, one thing that they did was they actually took me to McPherson High School to get a view of the roundhouse. I went in and immediately thought, there's no way that this is a high school gym. There's absolutely no way. It is beautiful inside, outside, everything. It is amazing, especially with it being a high school gym. It's very humbling to be able to call at a place like that, especially not just calling it, but calling it courtside, being up front with the action, especially with the terrific players that I've seen in just my 2 years there. And then also the amazing players that have been there past and present. So it's a pretty cool feeling, especially with basketball being one of my absolute favorite sports, and knowing that McPherson, not just in high school, but has a pretty good basketball history.
Well, Lane, keep up the good work, and congrats again on the Oscar Stauffer, and appreciate your time.
Absolutely cool. Thank you.
That is Lane Gillespie, a radio broadcaster from McPherson. We'll have more of the show right after this. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. Again, a big thanks to all of our guests coming on the show and previewing state basketball, which quarterfinals started up today. Thanks to Rickie Peterson Jr. with KSHSAA Coverage, staff writer, helping us preview some of those matchups. You can check out the website. I mean, KSHSAAcovered.com has all the great stories, but then also KSHSAA.org. So that's KSHSAA.org. You can find all the brackets you want. They update it consistently. Brackets obviously are there, but also information that you need at the quarterfinal sites, and then also later on at the state semifinal and state championship dates for Friday and Saturday. Those are there for information that you need. So it makes it really easy if you go to that website, KSHSAA.org. It's right there at the front page. They got it ready for you. You can get up to date with all the brackets and information that you might need if you're heading out to watch some state basketball. Again, and thanks to more of our sponsors, Barton Community College, always enrolling. Start your next chapter at Barton with flexible classes, bartonccc.edu. Wheatland Electric with headquarters in Scott City, serving 14 Kansas counties, delivering energy more than 20,000 Kansas homes and businesses. And SPX Video Wall Solutions, they build and install LED video walls for your high school gym. Spruce up that gym with SPX Video Wall Solutions. Mentioned Cody Eastis with Eastis Media, one of our sponsors on today's show, and he should be having some fun here this Wednesday as the Pratt Greenbacks into that state tournament. They are so good on the boys' side all season long, and now in the state tournaments. I mean, if you haven't checked out Eastis Media on the Facebook page and what Cody's done, like look at his virtual show that he did. Like he did like a virtual media breakdown of the Class 4A boys state bracket. So check it out. Eastis Media on Facebook. Cody doing excellent stuff, and excited to hear his broadcast coming up for the Greenbacks. That'll do it for the show today. We'll be back at it for more action on Thursday for Kansas Sports Chatter. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube.